Have you ever walked into a place and felt like you weren't alone, even when no one else was there? Ever felt eyes on you from a room that should have been empty? I clean abandoned houses for a living, and I thought I'd seen it all until this one job. A quiet little house, supposedly empty, but something was upstairs, something watching. And the worst part, I still don't know if I left it behind or if it came home with me. Beat that like button and subscribe and lock in. Just as the title states, I clean abandoned houses for a living. I'm quite proud of myself as I have worked hard starting my own business at just 24 years old and building it to what it is now. I specifically targeted these types of cleaning jobs as you can charge much more than your average 1 to 3 times per week house cleaning jobs of inhabited homes. Plus, I rarely ever have to see anyone other than my team while on the job. Over the years, I have really been in some insane situations with these houses. Everything from encountering wild animals to once a deranged squatter taking up residence in the homes I clean. There is one house that stands out from the rest, however, one that haunts my dreams to this day. I got the job offer through a real estate agent I made my friend over the years in this business. It's a small home, not much clutter left. Amila, my real estate friend, said over the phone, shouldn't need more than 1 or 2 of you to complete the clean, she continued in her enthusiastic voice. I rolled my eyes. I hated when she used her customer service voice on me. What's the real deal with this house? I answered in my usual half-annoyed tone. Amelia responded more normal this time. Honestly, Lori, this house gives me the creeps. The granddaughter inherited a couple of years ago but has just recently decided to sell. The grandmother apparently in the house. I rolled my eyes again. Then the houses I cleaned was nothing new to me and Amelia was well aware of this. Amelia continued. I cut my pre-visit to the house short last week. Didn't even make it upstairs where the grandmother apparently passed. The feeling of being watched was overwhelming in this one. That got my attention. Amelia had been in real estate longer than I had been in the cleaning business, and she took her pre-get-to-know before showing visits very seriously. Anyway, I recommended your cleaning services to the granddaughter and she agreed right away. Do you accept? She finished. Yes, I accept the job. How soon can we get into clean? I answered, feeling somewhat excited. Tomorrow at 8 a.m. As I mentioned, the granddaughter removed most of the clutter from the house, but it still needs a good TLC cleaning. The key will be left under the welcome mat, Amelia said, back in her customer service voice. My eyes rolled yet again as I ended the call. Finally, an interesting clean, I thought as I then dialed Morgan. The next day, my most trusted cleaner and best friend, Morgan, and myself drove up the horribly overgrown driveway and saw the well-aged small house come into view. Surely, they will need to hire an outside maintenance and renovation crew, I thought as I climbed out of my cleaning van. Morgan whistled as we stepped on the small creaking porch. You sure just you and I can handle this, Lori? Morgan asked as I fetched the house key from the weathered porch mat. If the outside is anything like the inside, we need the whole damn team, Morgan stated as she stood behind me. Amelia is over the top, but would never underestimate a cleaning job, I answered as I slid the house key into the old lock and turned until I heard the lock give way. I then pushed the door open as it made the usual ominous creak. We were both silent as we stepped into what I assumed was the small living room. The musty smell of a far too long closed-up house filled my nose as my eyes scanned the darkened room. Just as Amelia said, not much was left in the room. A couch took up most of the room on the right. A small wooden coffee table sat directly in front of it, coated in a thick layer of dust. I noticed a few photographs still clung to the walls. Let's get the supplies from the back of the van and get started, I said over my shoulder to Morgan. I have dinner plans and want this done long before. A bit later, I was scrubbing the dirty windows of the living room while Morgan opted to start upstairs. Lori, I heard Morgan call from up the stairs located just behind me. What? I called back. It was silent for several minutes as I waited for a response. I felt my aggravation growing as Morgan did not respond. I threw my rag on the floor and wiped my sweating brow as I turned and headed towards the stairs. Each step groaned beneath my feet as I climbed to the upper floor. You better have a damn good reason for interrupting me and not answering, I yelled as I reached the final step. Goosebumps covered my skin when I stepped onto the old wooden floor of the upper level. Weird, I mumbled to myself as I looked around. The upper level was a small hallway. 2 rooms were located on each side as I peered down the dark corridor. Morgan? I called in a softer voice this time. No answer. I slowly headed down the hallway, wishing I had thought to bring my flashlight. I always hated working with no electricity, but it came with the job. I could see the light of day from the open door on left side of the hall. The other door on the right was closed. As I looked into the open door on the left, I saw Morgan standing still looking at the bed located on the far side of the room. It moved, Morgan said in an almost whisper. I answered as I walked in and stood beside her. The bed. It moved on its own while I was cleaning the floor, Morgan said, still staring down at the bed. I then noticed the bed was crooked now. The bottom was several inches away from the wall where the top was still flush with the corner of wall. Do you see it? Morgan then said even softer now. I almost couldn't hear her. Instead of questioning her, I looked down towards the bed that her eyes were glued to. I instantly saw what she was talking about. There was an imprint on the bed the shape of a body, as if someone was laying on the bed that very moment. The chills were really covering my body now, and I felt myself actually shivering. It felt like someone was staring up at us directly from the bed. I slowly reached for Morgan's arm and gently pulled her towards me. "Let's go back downstairs. We will finish the bottom floor together," I said, matching her whispering tone. Morgan didn't respond but obeyed my request. The feeling of eyes on us did not leave as we headed down the small hallway to the top of the stairs. I had to fight the urge to run down the flimsy steps. Once we were safely down in the living room, the air somehow felt easier to breathe, if that makes any sense. "What the hell was that?" Morgan demanded, finally sounding more like herself. I ignored that question. "Look, you know I hate skimming on jobs, but let's get this level done and get the hell out of here." I grabbed my cleaning supplies and headed to the next room, which was a small kitchen. Morgan stayed close beside me as we worked in silence, cleaning the sink, counter, and cabinets. We both froze after hearing what sounded like footsteps above us. "Don't," I said in a warning tone as I went back to cleaning dust and mice droppings from the cabinet. Morgan again obeyed and stayed silent as she went back to work on the counter. The footsteps continued moving around above us, on and off, as we quickly finished in the kitchen. The last room branched off from the kitchen that appeared to be a small office. I was so relieved we would be out of there soon. This room had stained and worn down carpet covering the wooden floor. I turned on a rechargeable vacuum and the loud buzzing sound almost deafened me, but I was glad for it. Working in eerie silence was not normal for us, as we usually chatted and listened to music, but I was too rushed to full conversation or a playlist right now. "What the actual hell?" I heard Morgan yell out over the sound of the vacuum. I jerked my head up to see Morgan staring up at the ceiling, looking terrified again. Just as I cut the vacuum off, I heard what she had to be referring to as the buzzing sound died down. I can only explain it as the choking or coughing, gurgling sound of an elderly person. It was only for a split second I heard it, but that was enough. "This," I yelled as I grabbed up as many of our supplies as I could. Morgan joined me in grabbing up the rest. We dashed out of the office through the kitchen and living room and out the front door. I was pretty much sprinting to the van while trying not to trip on the mess of the yard. Just as I got to the van, I heard Morgan shout, "Wait." I turned to see her a few feet behind me. I left my supplies upstairs. We also didn't finish cleaning up there. We didn't even clean the bathroom, which must be up there. I'm not charging the freaking client. We can buy new, whatever supplies are left. "Kitchen's in the van." I didn't wait for a response as I jumped into the driver's seat. Morgan hurried in, threw the supplies in her arms in the back, and slammed the door. I took one final look at the house as she slid into the passenger seat. I couldn't be sure, but it almost looked like someone was peering out of one of the two upper windows. I started the van. Hearing it roar to life was pure heaven in that moment. I floored it out of the driveway and back into town. I later called Amelia to explain the job was not complete and I would not be charging. The granddaughter would have to find someone else to clean that nightmare. This has been a couple of months ago, and I was not kidding when I said this horrid house still haunts my dreams. It was only last night I dreamt I was in a bed, staring up at an old cracked and familiar ceiling. I felt weak and frail as the weight of someone crawling on top of me took the air from my lungs. I felt cold hands around my throat squeezing tighter and tighter, that awful gurgling choking sound coming from my mouth being the last thing I heard as I woke up in a cold sweat. The marks are still visible on my throat today. Okay, now don't freak out. But how does someone you trust know things about you that you've never told them? And why does it feel like you're the one who's been lied to all along? I'm sitting in the bathtub, locked in the ensuite, trying to steady my breath as Tom sleeps just down the hall. The house is enormous, beautiful, and yet I don't feel safe here, not after what I found. A locked desk in his childhood room, a photo of me when I was 5, things I've never mentioned to him, things I didn't even realize were missing. I know Tom, I love him, but now I'm wondering, how much does he really know about me?